Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to discuss with you guys, how long will my retirement last? And this is probably the most common question we get time and time again, into our agency, whether someone's calling through our radio show or calling through our YouTube channel, is they want to make sure that, or at least a retiree, pre-retiree, wants to have the correct systems or strategies in place to make sure that they are not going to outlive their retirement monies. And what we're noticing is right around 90% of all Americans are falling below the poverty level right when they hit their retirement age. And that's obviously a big problem. So what I want to do with this video is expose what are the negatives with a lot of individuals' accounts, see if this might correlate to you, and then show you some different ways on how you can get more consistency, more certainty in your retirement by just making some tweaks, or at least exposing some of those negatives and really seeing what some of those problems are, and then go over the three main criteria that every individual should have in their overall plan to make sure they could live their retirement with confidence, to make sure they're receiving their income streams properly, and they have an abundance of monies left over that they can leverage as something I deem their fund monies. So let's get started. The problem lies that individuals have been contributing to their retirement accounts or their retirement savings vehicles, since inception, since they started to work. So you have an individual that was typically contributed to a qualified retirement account like a 401k, and what would happen is each year that they worked or each month that they worked, they would take a portion of their salary, place it into this sort of retirement account, and what would determine whether or not this bucket was larger at the end of the day, the end of the year, would be the contributions made plus whatever the interest credit that came back that was associated with that 401k account. So majority of 401k accounts, they're associated with something known as mutual funds. So you might have different slews of options, about 10 to 25 different mutual fund options to choose from, saying, okay, I'm a conservative investor, I'm an aggressive investor, whatever that case may be. So if this person was contributing for years into their plan, and let's say they placed in a total of $100,000, well, what's going to determine whether or not this $100,000 is going to be sitting in this bucket or is going to be larger is going to be the amount that they contributed each and every month, plus whatever this interest credit is. So, they could be sitting at, this person could have placed 100 grand into their account. They could have $500,000 into their account, and then just like in 2008, you had a bad market loss that wiped this account clean, or basically hit this account down 50%. So now they're sitting at a $250,000 in their account. So these mutual fund performance, there's a couple of negatives that come with it beyond downward market losses, and that's something that a lot of individuals didn't realize in the 1980s and 90s because they kept seeing their accounts go up. They were realizing that the stock market was excellent, the mutual fund performance was really good. Anything that they'd be investing in, they seemed like they were financial gurus, just basically picking anything, and they would see a positive rate of return. So what happened was individuals trusted the market and thought that as long as they throw monies at their 401k, at their qualified retirement accounts, that that money should always be going up. And what we've noticed in more recent years, especially since 2000, is no, it's not guaranteed. It's nothing more than a stock market casino. And ultimately, you had Wall Street that got very wealthy by setting individuals up with these plans and implementing these sorts of qualified retirement accounts. So when it comes time for retirement, an individual might have monies like non-qualified monies if they sold a house or they sold a business. Well, that might be a portion of their monies. Or majority of them have some sort of retirement assets, such as their 401k, their IRA, their Roth IRAs, 403bs, TSPs, etc. All those different sorts of accounts that are just essentially sitting there. And now this individual is coming to the point of, okay, I understand I have to at least be more conservative with my money. I don't want to leave it to chance, but how exactly do I pull this money out to make sure that it's going to last as long as I do? And this is the problem time and time again, that individuals are siphoning out these monies. They're still leaving their money at some sort of risk, some sort of speculation, and there's nothing guaranteed about those monies. And on top of it, they're paying mutual fund related fees. They're paying high advisor fees. They have that downward market loss potential. They're trying to pull money from an account, so they don't know how much money to pull out, properly. So there's just a big problem that's associated there. The point that I want to try to make is, You don't have to utilize your retirement assets and your cash accounts into this risk. It's not necessary, especially when you're looking to retire, when you're, 10, 5, 1 year out, currently in retirement. There's ways on how you could go and leverage your monies into specifically designed plans that will be set up for either max income, for safe accumulation, for a maximized death benefit, maximized legacy to your loved ones. There's a whole slew of different things that you could get more consistent returns that will give you more of that peace of mind, more of that certainty in retirement, rather than just say, oh, I got to leave my money in the market because that's what I'm so accustomed to doing when I was working. So what are the problems? What are the problems with the typical individual now? And then how exactly can you really, trigger in or focus in on those problems to then get some of these consistent returns, some of these consistent accounts that I'm speaking about? And it all goes through the factor of reverse dollar cost averaging. What happens is if you have a typical IRA account that's tied to mutual funds, well, those mutual funds are going to come at a specific cost. So according to Morningstar, the average mutual fund related fees in IRA accounts average right around 1.31%. So that's a fee. That means if your account doesn't do anything, you're still losing out 1.31%, or we could just use 1%, for example. So if somebody has $100,000, they're already going to be $1,000 in the hole before that account does anything. The second negative is going to be an advisor fee. You have these wealth accumulation specialists that will go, they could either go door knocking, they might see them, around the block from where you live and say, oh, this guy seems like a nice guy. Let me go and, invest my money with him. And the problem that we're seeing is, first off, you have Bloomberg that basically did a test, and they looked at all these different advisor fees, and they realized that the average advisor fee is about 1.18%. So right there, that's another fee. That's another negative to that person's account. So if they're sitting at $100,000, let's say they have mutual fund related fees of $1,000, they have advisor fees of $1,000, that's already minus $2,000 in the hole before that person's doing anything, before they're pulling money out, before the account's even performing anything. So that brings me to the third negative. The third negative is downward market loss. And this is something that's very real, especially with, you have this uncertainty of what's going on with the election. You have this uncertainty with the enormous economic deficit. You have technological boom, which lets individuals know what's going on with the corrupt CEO at their fingertips instantaneously. You have these mega computers that, you have these hedge fund managers that are getting super wealthy off of understanding a market trend a millisecond before anybody else does. So all of these things are going to create volatility. Typically, the emotions are going to create volatility in the market. And, we saw a downward market loss in 2008. We start seeing, a good gain in the market one week, a horrible loss in the market the next week. And that's volatility. This is downward market losses that you should not be accustomed to, especially if you're looking to live off of this money for income. So say in a given scenario that the market goes down 10% in the year that that person wants to retire, or let's say they lose $10,000 of a loss into their portfolio. So we could utilize the same example and say, okay, well, you have to pay the mutual fund related fees of $1,000, the advisor fee of $1,000, and let's say that your account physically lost $10,000. Well, that means you're $12,000 in the hole before you actually start pulling money out. That last aspect is, or second to last aspect, is income. How exactly do you know how much money to pull out? What exactly is the correct dollar amount that you should be pulling out each year? You could look online, you could look at financial publications. They talk about something known as the prudent man's rule. And what it states is that, and this has actually been disproved, is that if you leave your money into some sort of speculation, that you should be able to comfortably pull out about 4% per year and, not outlive your money. That money should last you for at least the next 20, 30 years. And it's already been disproved because of the lost decade between 2000 and 2010 or 2001 to 2011. This has actually been disproved, where individuals have to actually take less money than 4% off of their assets to, have a fighting chance to say, okay, can I at least not outlive this money? So that's the income play. So if you're pulling out, let's say you pull out 4% off of $100,000, well, that's $4,000 that year, but yet your account receives all these negatives. Let's just say it was 10 minus 10,000 minus 1,000 minus 1,000 minus the 4,000. You'd be minus 16,000 in the hole. Your new account value would be sitting at $84,000. And now when you try to pull out $4,000 from this money, it's $4,000 off of a lower account value. So what you have is a combination of negative aspects kind of like a tornado vortex that is going against your account. It's the power of compound interest. What Albert Einstein deemed the most powerful thing in the world is the power of compound interest, but it's going at a negative rate against your accounts. And that's obviously a problem, because this is why seniors time and time again are outliving their retirement monies. And the only thing they're relying on is Social Security, because, they place their money in with an advisor or a Ponzi scheme or some sort of thing that just had all these fees that they were not totally aware of, and they were also subject to that downward market loss in the income. The very last negative that a lot of advisors don't try to touch up on is inflation. If you have expenses in retirement, well, you want to make sure that you're at least pulling out those monies. You at least have sufficient amount of income sources to cover those expenses. So if you're 60 years old and you're planning to retire at age 65, maybe you might have expenses of $60,000, $5,000 a month at age 65 that you have to prepare for. Well, maybe Social Security income would come to you at $30,000 a year. If you're fortunate enough to have a pension plan, maybe that pension income is going to come to you at $20,000 a year. But if we understand this concept, well, then we have to figure out how to produce $10,000 of guaranteed lifetime income, contractually guaranteed lifetime income through legal reserve structured contracts that will produce $10,000 per year. Out of this $60,000 expense, you might have $40,000, which is incorporated with fixed expenses that will never go up, but $20,000 that are going to be susceptible to inflation. The rule of thumb is that inflation is going to increase between 2 to 4% in a given year based upon the cost of goods and services. So you had individuals that retired in 1990 that lost over 40% of their purchasing power with those same incomes, with that same income stream by year 2010 alone. So that inflation is a real thing. This is something that's extremely scary, especially when you're trying to get on some sort of fixed income. So there's ways on how you could actually ladder your income strategies properly to receive lifetime income at age 65 for both you only, or you and your spouse at age 65, and then have step-ups of income when, maybe at age 68, maybe at age 71, at age 75. So it's correlating specifically to what your exact expenses will be and exactly what your inflationary goal is, to make sure that you're not in a panic. You're leveraging the smallest amount of dollars possible and only as much as necessary to accomplish these goals successfully. So understand there are ways on how you could structure this. You could utilize different sorts of indexing strategies. You could utilize different sorts of income riders associated with these sorts of contracts. And this last point is that I always make, as I say, there's three major things that you need to make sure that your plan covers. And that's income first and foremost. It has to be the most important thing, because if you guys keep living and living and living and living, you run that risk of outliving your retirement dollars. If you go and you say, okay, well, hopefully the market's going to go up, it's not going to have any any downward market losses, anything like that, that's not being realistic. You have to prepare for the worst case scenario so that you're confident when the market crashes, you're completely fine. Your account is it's not hindered. You're not paying, miscellaneous fees. You're not paying fees to advisors or mutual fund related fees. It's something that's not correlated to the market. And you could also segment accounts that will grow when the market goes up but not lose when the market goes down, known as those indexing strategies. You also have, different sorts of alternative investments as well that could pay you fixed interest rates. There's a whole slew of different things that you don't have to be shelling out paying fees each and every year. They could still accomplish your goal successfully. So the most important thing is making sure your income sources are protected, that you have sufficient amount of emergency funds left over, and then your inflationary protection is also set up through proper laddering strategies. So if somebody has $500,000, well, maybe to accomplish that $10,000 goal that I spoke about, maybe that's only going to constitute $150,000. So now this person has $350,000 left. Out of that, maybe they want to place another, $150,000 into emergency funds in case of an oh my gosh moment. Well, now that's going to leave $200,000 that they could play around with. Now they could use as their fund monies. If they want to go into speculation, if they want to go into alternative investments, if they want to go into safe, consistent planning with good, safe, consistent growth, or utilize some sort of death benefit maximization plans, now you have these monies segmented properly. The worst thing, and what the big mistakes that individuals make, is they take their full nest egg and they throw it all into one segment, all into one sort of goal, and it's just not going to be feasible. It doesn't make sense to do so. You want to avoid the negatives. You want to make sure that you're properly retiring, and that's some of the things that we go over, and we try to expose the negatives that you guys might have with your current situation, or just let you know, hey, listen, what you're doing is perfect. You're going to get to that finish line successfully, and there's no need to sweat about downward market losses or these fees. Everything is actually going according to plan and according to your goals. So at any point in time you found value in this video, please feel free to give us a call, 1-800-566-1002. We offer 24/7 customer service. We deal with clients on a national basis, so we make sure that we could help you out, at any time, mornings, nights, weekends, holidays, whatever that case may be. And we'll break down these plans. We'll break down, kind of to understand the negatives and how to accomplish your goals successfully. At the end of the day, even if that means you just want a second opinion to say what I'm doing is correct, that's what we're here for. And this is why we're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of our methodical process. We like to educate first and foremost so you guys can make informed decisions and go from there. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos as well. And we look forward to helping you out. Also, at any point in time, if you guys want to request any free reports or free ebooks, we have a whole slew of them. We have about 10 different ebooks. Depending upon your situation, we could send it over to you, create personalized videos, personalized reports to make sure to help out with the educational process and give some good recommendations. So thanks so much, guys, and I look forward to speaking with you.